Alright, I've taken the car as far down the road as I want. So now it's just trekking on foot that way. So onwards. So this is a little interesting. It's a tree break right alongside the road. Looks like it's broken off at about 9 feet or so. Tree appears to be about, let's say about 4, maybe 5 inches in diameter where it's broken off. Not going to make any assumptions about tree breaks or stick structures, but potentially interesting if this turns out to be an area where there are Sasquatch. So either way, search continues. So I'm now traversing my way up a ridge off trail. Down there's a creek that I'm paralleling. Let's see what I find or hear as I continue onwards. So there's a pretty good cache of, looks like some kind of nutshell. There's a big pile of it here. Definitely a lot. Right in between these two rocks, right down in there. Yeah, I'm not really sure what kind of nuts or food items that red squirrels would cache and store away. It's not like these are buried, they're just kind of in a pile, fairly exposed. There's a good amount of them too, hundreds of them. Oh. I found something similar to this in this area last year, but even bigger, so something to make note of. So now that I made it off trail a little ways, I want to start documenting some of the plant species and tree species that are most prevalent in this area. And I want to look for signs of wildlife as well, see what animals are actually used in this area and how many. And I think that'll be very important to document that kind of stuff while I'm out here in the scouting these locations for Sasquatch research, because I really want to compare and contrast areas that have high Sasquatch activity versus no activity at all. And if I document enough stuff over all these trips that I do, all this exploring, then hopefully I'll start to build up a database of useful information when it comes to Sasquatch research. Alright, we'll see what I can find. So far, the most prevalent trees that I've been finding are red cedars, and then this type of pine tree. I'm actually not exactly sure which type this is. I'll have to check when I get back home. A lot of these around here. And then there's also this smaller, it's a deciduous tree. You can see it's got leaves on it. Don't know exactly what it is yet either. But you know, my knowledge of plants and trees in the Pacific Northwest is not nearly as good as I'd like it to be. But that's what part of what I'm out here to do is, with my research, is learn all the different trees and plants and such that are around here. There's a cedar stump. Another thing I've noticed too is the forest floor on this ridge is just dominated by this moss. Another plant that seems to be fairly prevalent on this ridge, these ferns. There's also a lot of these. They have more prickly leaves. I'll have to check out what these are as well when I get back. And then there's this plant species. Yeah. So far, my inability to identify the exact species, or most of the species that are here, just lets me know that I got some learning to do, some research to do. Learn more about all these different plant and tree species that are here. Alright, I'll continue onward and see what else I find. Found this lonely white flower. It's the only one of those I found so far. There's lots of small saplings in this forest. The forest is definitely starting to get thicker. The further off trail I go, a lot more of these salal plants. Even more trees. Looks like it's still mostly whatever type of pine, these two are, and red cedars. This is a nice mature tree here. Definitely an older growth. Very steep down here. There's the creek down there roaring. Just heard something interesting from up in that area. Sounded like 6 rapid, like rock tapping, wood knocking kind of sound, but it was lower pitch and it sounded like it was on a hollow tree or something. It was kind of weird. And it was rapid in succession, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I haven't heard anything since. That just happened about a minute or two ago. Not sure what it is, but it is a little breezy, so, and this forest is pretty thick in here, so who knows what that might have been. Hopefully I'll find out shortly. Hearing the sound again. It's definitely coming from up that way. It's a very steep slope getting up there. It sounds like a very low pitched, hollow tree creaking from the inside kind of sound. Almost like it wants to break. Just have to keep listening and see what happens. There's a straight vertical drop down to that thundering creek. Well, I've pretty much made it to the spot where I'm pretty sure that hollow, low-pitched tree creaking sound is coming from. But I haven't heard anything at all for past 30 minutes now. So I'm not really sure exactly what that was. But it really did sound like a big hollow tree making a low-pitched creaking sound. It sounded like it could have possibly been like a rock tapping on a hollow tree as well. So most likely it wasn't. It probably was just a hollow tree making a low-pitched creaking noise. But those are the, I think, subtle sounds you just got to pay attention to and investigate, see what happens, see what you can find, see what else you hear. I think paying attention to the subtleties are going to be very important when it comes to Sasquatch research. Anyways, I keep exploring just a little bit longer off trail. Starting to get a little later in the afternoon now, so see what else I can find before I have to leave. Well, interestingly enough, pretty much right from the general area where I heard that sound, I found a game trail. And it follows along this ridge. Well, I'm gonna follow it and see what I find. See, right between the two trees there, some flagging tape. And the density of the forest definitely changes from up here up into here. So I'm guessing it's a protected riparian zone down here, which parallels the creek. And this must be the edge of where some logging's been done. There's a lot more undergrowth with all this salal here, much thicker than down there. It's mostly just moss down that way. It looks like there actually is still a little bit of a game trail right in through here. So follow it a little ways. Yeah, man, anything could be hiding in this. And so this is actually kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure there's an impression here, stamped down impression. I could see just right here, this moss has been kind of pushed this way down. So the impression kind of starts, it's really stamped down starting right here, goes up to around here, which in comparison to my boot is, it's actually about the same size, which would be about 12 inches. So we get a rough width estimate. So yeah, where it's really pressed down, it's about 6 inches wide, maybe 5.5 at the least. The length is, I mean, that's distinctly pressed down edge right here. Take this out. Up to about here. So I mean, looks like it was pretty much right on with the length, guess. It's about 12 to 13 inches long by 5.5, 6 inches wide. There does seem to be a impression here, but then it goes down to here. It's an odd shape to that. But maybe that's just the way the foot is interacting with the soil. Because the soil is firmer here compared to here. But yeah, if this is actually where the big toe is, then that's closer to 14.5 inches, maybe 14, say 14.5 to 15 is the longest. The width is relatively the same from here to here. Maybe about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch less wide down here compared to up here. Either way, it's for sure an impression. I can tell by the way that the soil is pressed down, and there's moss that's been like upturned and pushed back over here. The size of it would suggest that it's too big to be a black bear. But who knows if the foot started up here and then dragged down here and added more length to that. Although the heel doesn't taper, like, at all, hardly. Again, just double checking my measurements. I mean, back here it's roughly 5 to 5.5 inches wide, which this appears to be where the heel would be. And up near the ball of the foot, it looks closer to 6, maybe even upwards of 6.5 inches wide. And then if this is where the big toe would press down, and the heel press down here, that would be about 14.5 inches. And then, but even though right here it's only about 12.5, but that might just be because of the density of the soil substrate here. Like it's softer here, a little bit denser here, because of this is the edge of where an old rotted log is. So yeah, human, bear, Sasquatch. Kind of hard to say with the lack of detail, but the size and shape of it would suggest something other than bear, especially with how wide it is towards the heel. And I'll have to keep looking around a little bit to see if I find anything else similar to this. I'll keep you updated. I have found another possible track. This one's a little harder to see because there's more moss in it and around it compared to the other one. It actually appears to be the heel down here, and the toes would be up here. So from here down to here, it's harder to tell because this is even less distinct than the other one, but there's definitely an impression here. It looks like it's not recent because there is some fresh twigs and stuff in it. The other one wasn't that recent either. It's about roughly 13 inches. It looks more packed down from here to about here. So that is the heel impression. Somewhere in the 4.5 to 5 inch range, and more towards the ball of the foot, which appears to be about that. It's about 6 inches. I think this track is roughly the same size as the other one. Very similarly shaped. At this point I still can't rule out bear or human. And I can't even rule out with this one if this is actually a track or not. Looks like it though. And if it is, it's got the right shape. See if I can find something more distinct. I did not find anything else that was potentially Sasquatch related, thus concluding my first scouting trip. My goal is to find an area for Sasquatch research that will yield good evidence and allow me to experience this phenomenon for myself. My search is only just beginning.